If you do all of those things, I think you can be whoever the fuck you want to be in like 18 months. Hey guys, welcome back to Be the Standard. I'm your host, Denny Jamazzo. Unfortunately, Mike couldn't make it this week. We have a very special guest. His name is Deny Caballero. Denny is a retired Green Beret. He is the host of the Security Hall podcast, and he'll talk to you a little bit about what he's doing now with the Special Forces Foundation. And yeah, man, let's get right into it. Before we get into it, actually, hit like, hit subscribe, go ahead, leave some comments, give us some feedback, let us know what you think. But yeah, man, happy to have you here.
Dude, it's a pleasure, man. Love seeing what you're doing with your platform, and we need more strong, resilient men that are willing to stand up and put a good face of what it means to be a fucking tough, well-adjusted individual, man. Because we have a lot of grifters in this space, and I love what you're doing. I love how you're connecting with people, and man, yeah, you're fucking rocking it, brother.
No, man, and I appreciate you saying that. It's a grind, man. It's a grind every day to maintain that level of integrity, that level of performance, and make sure you're doing the right things and networking with the right people. But I'm glad you brought that part up, is the network, right? And connecting with the right people, because I think for me, at least, that's been the most beneficial part of all of this. It has been just the network of people that I now have and share, and I'm able to lean on and leverage, yourself included, man. I was just on your podcast. It aired this week. Thanks for having me. I thought the episode was pretty cool. I thought we did a good job.
It was good,
it was a good one. So I appreciate that. But it's not about me. It's about you. I'm going to put you on the spot for about 45 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. We'll see. But man, talk to me a little bit about, I know I've heard a little bit, but talk to me a little bit about your story, where you're from, your childhood, and we'll start there.
Dude, it starts all the way back in freaking Panama, Central America, dude. I am a Panamanian, first generation American. I got brought here right after the invasion, man. So I was a little kid, and that was like my first taste of warfare was as a civilian non-combatant child in war, dude. Wow. I still remember it. Yeah.
So is that like when the 82nd and the Rangers went in there?
Yeah, man. Yeah. We had 82nd, the Ranger, and that was actually the first American soldier that I met. Still remember it. Dude, it was a Ranger regiment, dude, doing patrols on the street after the calamity of the initial invasion. Vividly remember seeing that young friggin' dude, Ranger tab, handed me a friggin' chocolate bar, and fast forward fucking 40 years or some 30 some odd years later, and here I am on the backside of it, like, holy fucking shit, like that nexus. And it could have been a stereotypical like just moment, but I always remember the kindness of juxtaposed with the violence of the previous night. Like it was Christmas night, and it was a bombardment, dude, like just fucking explosions fucking everywhere Christmas morning, and we're all huddled in my grandparents' home. I was just like, no idea what the fuck was going on in our world, and never thought that it would change my life forever. But, we had Fort Clayton and I think Sherman down in Panama. So there was a huge influence of America and lots of troops there, but afterwards, even more so. And what happened, my biological mother had met a service member, and what we didn't realize was that dude was a child predator. We didn't realize this dude, the first time we met this dude. And I also had a biological sister who was a little bit older than me, and she remembered it plain as day. This dude was casing the playground, and he had seen us first and approached our mom. And just like any other young woman looking for a way out, they got married and brought us stateside. And real quick, we were settled in Florida. And I mean, it was just so fast after that initial meeting, dude. And next thing I know, the next years, all my childhood developing in Florida and later in Colorado was just nothing but the worst nightmare you could imagine, dude. Wow. Every sort of abuse, every sort of just nightmare scenario for kids. And yeah, that was my lived experience, man. That was my introduction to the American way of life. Just one moment you just ripped out of the family you had in Panama, and then next you're in the States.
No shit.
And
you came here with your both parents, or
just my mom? My mom married that American soldier, brought us back to stateside, and then we were just sitting there surviving, living through that torment until I left. Wow. Man,
that's crazy, man. So that's what your childhood looked like. How did you end up in the military, man?
Well, I knew that I was meant for more. I grew up always, with this individual. His mentality was keep you beaten, keep you under his rule, and don't let you think that you have the ability to ever amount to anything. It's psychological warfare. Like, you're a piece of shit. You're only good if you're of service to me. And I realized, man, going into like my last year of high school, I'm like, dude, I got to get away from this. Like, I've gotten to the point where the violence has escalated at home, and I knew with a certainty, like, now I'm starting to test the boundaries of my strength. I'm not, I'm, like any young man, you're starting to realize, like, dude, like, you're putting your hands on me. Like, what's going to stop me from fighting back? Like, I'm now a little bit bigger. I'm a little bit stronger. You can't abuse me the way you used to. And I realized, like, maybe I could beat him in a, fight man to man, but what if he gets a gun? What if he, comes in the bedroom late at night and I don't see it coming? So I knew I had to run away. And I had a girlfriend at the time, her family, and I didn't know it was one of those like situations where it's like out of the pan into the fire, where it's like, oh shit, like, okay, I have an opportunity to leave home. I can run away here. Let's take this gamble. So I did. And the first thing that I realized was like, okay, I can sign up for National Guard. I'm 18 now. I'm legal. I can sign up for the Guard. That was my first taste of military. Well, I was still in the freaking high school. So it was like, have your Friday night games, work your job, and then do drill weekend. And that just like gave me extra money, gave me a sense of security, because I was paying for everything at this point, and I'm trying to go to school. And it was like, oh, maybe I can go to college with this. And boy, was I wrong. That was not as easy as they made it seem. The pamphlets and the recruiting made it seem like super easy. Go to college, you'll have your dream life. Bro, you're having to work every single dead end job you can find and make ends meet. I'm like, fuck, dude. And it just seemed like the world was moving by and all these opportunities were slipping if I just sat here and continued fucking plugging along, trying to go to college and trying to do the Guard. And I knew I loved the military. It gave me a sense of purpose. I met people that were amazing leaders, and I realized, like, man, like, I want to do this full time. Like, I need this to be my life.
That's cool, man. And I just want to back up on one of the things you said, because one of the things you said I really liked. You were like, I'm getting older, I'm getting bigger and stronger. I'm starting to want to test that strength and maybe fight back. And what's going to stop me from doing that? I had an uncle who was physically abusive, and I got to that point where I snapped, I fought back, and just beat his ass. And we never talked about it again. He never tried that shit again. But it was several times that he did it before I finally said, you know what, man, like, you're not really that much bigger than me anymore. And I'm feeling pretty strong today. And I fought back. Did you ever do anything like that?
No, not at all, man. Our abuse was pretty much normalized to the point where my biological mother had become an abuser as well. And it was every facet. Physical, emotional, verbal, sexual abuse. And it was something that you grew up from an early age. So I had met this individual. He'd become our stepfather at like age 6. And it was always, the physical abuse was so bad as a kid that you never saw him as anything but this giant figure. And reality was he was 5'7" at best. But it's, you grow up in that abuse mentality. Your abuser always looks bigger, always looks more powerful than you. And my biggest thing was when I was getting in high school, I'm playing football. I'm able to see that, like, I can have a physical effect on people. I can have a powerful effect. And I realized, like, man, like, I'd want to, but then, like, that part of me was still like, nah, this dude beat the shit out of you all your life. You may not win.
Yeah.
And Yeah.
Yeah, and when you take those kinds of emotional losses, it's like it's almost just better like don't go down that road because if they're capable of that, it makes you think about what
Yeah.
they might be capable of.
Oh, bro.
Down.
Yeah. There were so many times where he would put shotguns in my face, squeeze the trigger. And one of his
Wow.
favorite things was to go hunting. And we would, and I grew up learning to hate the outdoors as an individual because there's nobody there to protect you. There's nobody to deflect. Um, and it's just you and this guy at night. And it's like, fuck, dude, I hate being and you know, you learn real quick, like it's best to just fucking just be docile. Be just this dude won't stop until you fucking stop fighting. Just stop fighting. Because as a little kid, you have that instinct that you want to fight back, and it's like, no, the abuse will continue. Just fucking go limp.
Yeah.
And I realized years later, going through SEER school, that's a big thing that like hit me hard. Was a lot of times you observe other people that you're going through that course with, and they've never had their somebody put their hands on them and put them in that mentality of like, you're my fucking victim,
Yeah.
dude. You're here, I control you. I flipped that switch and was like, look down. My entire life was told to look down, especially when I got taller, when I got older. It's like, don't fucking look me in the eye. I look down. It's like, oh yeah, super easy to get back, man. But
Yeah, I don't know about you,
to
man,
go
but
back,
those experiences, man, that made me so sensitive to like people putting their hands on me. Like if somebody would have put their hands on me now, like I make it very clear, like don't touch me. Like that's
yeah.
a bad fucking idea if you touch me.
Well, dude, one of the things that he used to do all the time was try to get you by surprise from behind, like try to grab you by your neck or try to grab you by the shoulder. So like when you have friends that grow up and they're able to like grab people on their shoulders and be like, hey, what's up, bro? Like I fucking to this day I have a hard time accepting that.
Yeah, no, and that's how I am now. Like if somebody sneaks up on me and grabs like my shoulders, my
Yeah.
back, or
Yes.
puts me in a
Yeah.
headlock, like it takes a split second for me to think about it before because I just want to fucking like start beating them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just a natural response. But back to what we were talking about when you joined the guard, and I can totally relate to that as well, right? They sell you the pamphlets and everything's gonna be so easy, and
Yeah.
I have to be perfectly transparent where the guard promised me certain things and they delivered on all of them. Like the bonus I
Nice.
got, the tuition reimbursement I got. They pay your tuition. I remember you saying they didn't do that for you. So
Yeah, I had to pay up front,
yeah.
and then the state, which for a lot of people, it's like, oh, you can save up some money, and then you pay it, you get it, recoup it back. But it was just like you expect it to be instantaneous and not have to cut a check to your community college up front.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I loved about Massachusetts and finishing my degree.
Yeah,
Because every guard has different rules for what schools they cover and all that, because they're
yeah,
all independently funded by their state. And
yep,
so, yeah, I was very fortunate in that regard. Like they just cut the check directly to the school. I just had to enroll, and I think I had to get like a C minus or something in the class to, I
yeah.
don't know, which whatever. But yeah, man. So I know you spent some time in the guard. How long were you in the guard for?
So I was in the guard only for a few years, about 4 or 5 years,
Okay,
and it was enough for me to realize
and that's
that,
Colorado. Okay.
yeah, Colorado Guard, and shout out to the 220th MP company out of Aurora, Colorado, if they're still out there. But it was a good experience in that I learned that I needed more. I had senior leaders that were all prior active duty guys that, some were infantry, some were cav dudes, and they knew what they were doing.
Hmm.
And they would talk fondly of what they did,
Yeah.
all the deployments. And I realized like all the good leaders I had were active duty first.
Yeah, and I think that's why the stigma, that stench on the guard, kind of started to go away, right? During
Yeah.
the last 20-year war that we had, because those active duty guys would come to the unit, and that would be your leadership, prior active duty guys.
Yep.
One of my very close friends, this guy, I think he's sergeant first class now, Warren. He was in the 82nd for 3-4 years. Showed up at our unit and as an E4 and just super squared away. Rose to the ranks quickly. Me and him made E5 like right around the same time. I think at the same day.
Yeah.
But guys like that showed up to the unit that were just fucking squared away.
Yeah.
And that's what the leadership has become in the Guard, is guys like that. And it's kind of incentivized or kind of motivated guys like yourself and guys like me who wanted to eventually go active duty to go do that. But no, so that's cool. You spent like 5 years in the Guard and
Yeah.
then you went active. Tell me about that.
Yeah, man. It was shortly after I had a chance encounter. I was really fortunate. I did everything I could to volunteer for every duty, everything I could do, and got sent to, you know, MPI school, got sent to, did annual trips in Germany, and did some really cool stuff. But it was when I went to the school, I met a, you know, young paratrooper, go-getter, hard-charging dude. Name was John Waterhouse, and he was also an MP. We're at, you know, MPI school, and he's breaking it down, everything he does. And I'm like, fuck, dude, like this is not where I should be. Like I should definitely be active duty. I should definitely friggin' be able to like explore and live a life where I'm 100% committed to what I'm passionate about, which at the time was service. Every time I would leave drill, I'd be like, fuck, dude, like I have a sense of mission. I have a sense of purpose. I have people that I like being around.
Mm-hmm.
And then I drive all, you know, like 2 hours away back home, and I'm like, I'm by myself. I'm in an environment where there's no structure, there's no purpose, and I'm trying to chase a degree and work full time in something that I'm not happy in. And I realized, I'm like, dude, like you're right. Like this is, I'm finally like took that moment to pause and like listen to like what I truly wanted to do. And it was just like you're watching a GWAT unfold, and it's like, fuck, dude, there's a great adventure to be had. And that's every young man out there
Sure.
in a time of war. Like you see what's happening, and it's like, how can I be of value to my community, to my society, if I'm not out there trying to test my mettle, trying to go make something of myself? And that's what I realized I had to do. I had to go enlist, go active duty, and I wanted to go with the, you know, understanding that I was going to be of purpose and be useful, and I chose infantry. And I didn't have an 80-second contract. I didn't have an airborne contract guaranteed. All I had was, you know, 11X. So I went there. I went to basic. I was fortunate. I reclassed with some good dudes that was going through that with some other, you know, some 18 X-rays, some other guard guys were going active duty. It was like 3 of us were going open contract infantry, and 3 other guys were going 18 X-ray route or 18 series route. And I just remember, I'm like, man, like, okay, like maybe someday I will do that. And I went through, you know, infantry. I did good enough that I remember my senior instructor was like, you do right by us. You friggin' do what we ask you. I'll make sure I walk you over to airborne school and get you a slot. And sure enough, man, graduated infantry. And my initial contract, come to find out, it was going to take me to Fort Hood.
Oh, damn.
And yeah, I remember that senior drill being like, nah, man, you belong in 82nd. So he took me and my buddy Maynard. We were both supposed to go to Hood, and he got us into airborne school, and friggin'
That's cool.
went through that, got to the 82nd, and got to 2504, and met, I think it was like 30 days, and I was in Iraq. And that's the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me, because to this day, I credit that unit, I credit that platoon and that company with giving me like what I call the associate's degree in combat. Because by the time I'd come back from my second tour, I knew I was ready for selection. I knew that everything those guys had poured into me, whether it was the young soldiers that I was put in charge of, to the senior NCOs that were leading me and mentoring me and developing me, like I was ready. There wasn't a single fucking question. And there's often this misconception that special forces is above conventional soldiers. I'm like, dude, we're a supporting fucking element. And every good Green Beret was molded, forged, and made better by the conventional soldiers that poured into them in their careers. And I will tell you, I am fucking beyond grateful to my platoon sergeant, my squad leaders, and every soldier I had in 82nd. Even the really shitty ones, even the ones that would run away in a firefight. Jamie fucking Haskett.
Whoa.
Fuck that dude.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah, that really happened. And that was like that last deployment where I realized like I can count on every single one of these motherfuckers, but except for like that fucking dude. Where do I go where that's not a factor?
Yeah.
Where do I go where I don't have to fucking worry about you shutting a fucking MRAP door while we're taking contact? Like that.
Yeah.
That was the last straw.
Yeah, I mean, I think I told you about this before, but we had a scenario like that where a guy just clammed up,
Yeah.
couldn't fight, and I've never called his name out like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there's a special place in hell for that dude. Um, and I don't mind saying his name because he went AWOL,
all right.
and he went AWOL and he left our
Yeah.
unit. And
Our guy was a good
that's
guy who
something.
just, unfortunately, that we found out that just wasn't his thing.
Yeah,
So yeah,
dude, and that shit happens
yeah,
everywhere. Yeah.
But man, yeah, that's crazy. So you go to the 82nd, great experience for you. You think you're ready for
Oh yeah,
selection. Tell me about that next step in your career.
dude, I remember it clear as fucking day, dude. I remember coming back from that last trip.
Walk these
And
guys through what selection's like too.
oh, bro, nothing. I mean, nothing I say can prepare you, the listener, because it's a living, breathing entity. What the selection I went through is vastly different than the selection that you will go through. And I hope if you're listening, there's somebody out there who picks up that mantle and goes to selection, because we need to replenish the force. We need great men. We need great men to go in. But I remember clear as day going in there, having everything, showing up, and the first thing you're going to do is a normal baseline PT test. And I was fortunate. I went to selection with a stacked group of guys from my own company. So it's like you have that quiet confidence and strength in numbers. And you're like, fuck yeah, I'm excited because I know that dude's a fucking stud. That dude's a stud. And even though it's not about a group effort, like the only time you're doing anything group is team week. It's about you, but there's a quiet sense of confidence when you know your strength, when you are resolved and you just came back from deployment and you've got good dudes from your unit there. You see a regular face. Of course, you're going to be motivated to keep going. Hell, my platoon sergeant was there. That's how crazy it was. It was a platoon sergeant, had a PL from the same company, tons of dudes. And then one by one, you start seeing guys get hurt. You start seeing guys not make a run. And it's like, oh, fuck. And it's not like you have this long recovery time. It's you do an event, boom, ruck up, unknown distance, boom. It's constantly going, and you're just constantly on the clock. And then you come back, and then it's like, okay, take all instructions from the whiteboard, don't go to sleep. And you would think that there's going to be all these guys looking and making sure you're fine. No, fuck no. It's like the ninjas. They pop up whenever, and if you're doing something wrong, boom, they got you. They're watching you. Even when you think they're not watching you, they're fucking watching you. And slowly but surely, the miles and the course and the land nav, everything starts getting to you. But it's all about figuring out, like, do you have what it takes? Do you have what it takes to push through? Because they want you to be dog tired. They want you to be fucking wet, cold, and miserable. Yeah. And then you go through the star course, and that is the fucking great equalizer. And
I've heard that's miserable,
bro. Abso-fucking-lutely. There are people that lose their shit in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And
I saw that in basic training with night land nav, like just infantry school land nav at night. I saw guys freaking the fuck out because it was nighttime, and we were doing it without night vision. Just instructors had night vision because even though it wasn't as strict or as difficult of a course in infantry school, as you know, like they're still out there with their night vision, watching you and making sure that you're doing the right things. But yeah, I saw guys in just basic infantry school land nav freaking out at night. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, no. It's one of the greatest things. And again, I credit it, and I need the listeners to understand, like, you can make it through the Q course without being a conventional soldier. You can. There's a train up programs, or tons of things you can do. But you don't get the resilience, you don't get that grit from learning and having people that coached you and mentored you doing. Man, we spent so many hours and so many days out in Area J doing land nav, preparing for an EIB, doing all those things. And you take it for granted until you're in the star course and you realize, okay, I'm a little lost, but I know how to figure this shit out. Bro, there's people that navigate with their map like right in their face. And then there's infantry dudes that have been land navving, and they're just like, okay, what's my azimuth? Do my conversion right. Plot once, double check, get it. Boom, move out.
Yeah, just
have
keep
confidence
fucking going
in your
until
pace
you
count.
find your point.
Yeah, dude, have confidence. And if you get and have your, I never realized that some things felt like common sense because you heard your platoon sergeants, you heard your squad leaders talking shit over and over, handrails, making sure you've got your left and right boundaries. Oh shit, I'm kind of hugging this boundary too much, man. Let me bleed back out into the wood line. Let me get a little more away from the road. And then you see guys are just like, fucking, oh my God, where the fuck am I? And they're freaking out, and because they've never done, they've done it in the classroom because they do a great land nav class out in selection. I'm sure they still do. But the reality is you need reps. You need that practice.
Yeah, because when you're actually in the middle of the woods with a compass and a map, it's not easy. Like, and unless you have that preparation, like you said, you have the reps. It's tough. And land nav was something initially that I struggled big time with, but I was able to pick up and eventually be okay at it.
And dude, I felt confident. And then, if you get like my friend friggin' Rodriguez got all his points, he was like one of the first guys back. He's like sleeping. He's having a tough. I didn't get all my points that first night, but then there comes that resilience. Like, okay, what the fuck? What happened? I was missing one. Then you're like, okay, I got this. I'm not scared. Then there's the guys that didn't get enough points the first night. So then you're going in there knowing that you got to get every point the next night. I wasn't nervous or scared. I just I realized I needed to have a better plan of attack. I was like, okay, fucking let's figure this shit out. You took a little bit of extra time here, and here. Fucking where can you cut fucking corners? Like square your shit away. Then there's other guys that are hopeless. And that's the difference that I saw. If you didn't get it the first night, you got to get it the second night. Too easy. Yeah. You got this. Then there's the guys that lose hope. And I realized, like, okay, that's what they're looking for. Who's going to fucking lose hope?
Yeah.
Just doing the same shit again, same miles, whatever. Dude, got it.
Yeah. And it's funny. I know a guy who was an instructor at Buds for the SEAL training. And, there were guys that they really liked that just had no quit in them. And, but if they were struggling with a little bit of something like that, a little bit of technique or whatever, but they really liked them, they'd be like, yeah, he got it. He's good to go.
Yep. It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that.
Because they know that, like, look, this guy's a fucking stud. He at least deserves to go on. He might be struggling in this little bit of an area, but he'll fucking get there. We know he will.
Yeah.
And he was just like, he made the time. Good to go.
Dude, every single good instructor, and because we did the STAR course again later on in the Q course, but not to jump over, but you get back into those situations where now you're going back into land nav again. Now you're doing it again. But every instructor takes time to sit down with you and be like, hey, what went wrong?
Yeah.
What do you think you can improve? And if you're like not unsure, they walk you through different scenarios. Like, hey, how many times did you trust what was your pace count? You need to recheck it. Let's go check your pace count. The instructors there, they're not looking to see you fail. They want you to fucking pass. They want you to do what you need to do to pass. They want to see the best version of you.
Yeah.
They're not going to help you
as
far as like cheat for you.
Right.
But they want you to succeed because they know how fucking good men are needing the regiment. Now, if you're a turd and you just don't think that there's anything you can improve on, they'll see that shit too.
Oh, absolutely.
They have a master's degree in understanding what the detachment needs and what makes a good Green Beret.
Sure.
So there's a lot that goes into becoming a cadre. And I know when I was in selection, especially in that land nav portion, I saw individuals that were willing to go through and make sure that guys had understood the land nav lessons and were executing with the best possible plan of action. And that's why we saw like that second night out, what I observed were guys that were hopeless and just started being frantic didn't get all their points the second night.
Right.
The guys that knew how to take and adjust their plan of attack and adjust their format came back with all their points, and then you're good. Move on to the next thing. And for us, I think it was team week that came after that. And then that's when you see all those crazy apparatuses and those crazy things you got
dragging them and
that's
ropes and barrels and all kinds of shit.
I will tell you this, there's so many different variations and so many different fucking ways that can make it suck. And that's what you have to understand. It's simply about coming together, putting together the best plan of action and executing it and being able to suck under time.
Yeah.
It's a smoke fest.
Yeah.
And it's the first time you get to set yourself apart with leadership. Like when you're in charge, be in charge. And I just remember seeing like what you would template as the stereotypical Captain America leader fall the fuck apart. Just complete fall the fuck apart. And then a young 18 X-ray step in when it's his turn and just completely crush it because they knew how to talk. They knew how to engage and fucking delegate tasks. And it's like, you grab this, you grab the lashings, let's do this. Ready on 3. It's like boom, and it just flows. And once you get a rhythm, move, just keep moving, keep moving. Fucking
it's
rotate.
Gonna be painful as hell, but keep fucking going,
dude. It's one thing that I always tell people: the greatest moments in your life, if you're a service member or first responder, it's not the moments where everything was going great and you're happy, you're on a beach. The greatest moments are when you've been tested, when you're enduring something just god awful and somebody says something to lighten the mood.
Sure.
And it's the same thing, man. And it's one of the things that I took away from that experience is like, wow, like I know what it takes to suck and just continue moving, continue performing, because that's what I want to see. The moment you let them see that chink in your armor and you lose your cool or you snap at somebody,
done.
Bro, that's all they need to see.
Yeah.
That's all they need to see. Because what's going to happen in combat?
Yeah. That's just it, man. And that's such a great test because it makes you, first of all, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and you have to keep your cool while being extremely uncomfortable and be able to perform. And that's exactly what those courses are designed to do, and see who can handle that and maintain that composure in that environment. And because, like you said, in combat, we each talked about a guy, who couldn't really handle it and function in that environment. And it's important at the Green Beret level for sure that, you're testing that in every way imaginable before, you're put into that situation because, conventional forces, one thing they don't do is test you the same way. So anybody can wind up at the 82nd like that guy did. And now you are in combat and it's like, oh shit. Like,
It's your first introduction to like calm presence, because when all hell breaks loose and you key the mic, do you want to hear somebody losing their composure, yelling indiscriminately at nonsensical shit, or do you want that voice to come on? Yeah, Roger, stand by.
Yeah, you need that voice of reason in the chaos always,
dude. And that's the place where you will see it come and you'll see it rise, and you'll find yourself like finding that strength to, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how fucking stressful you are, you'll understand the importance of maintaining that composure. Like, okay, it sucks for everybody. I'm not alone in this. Like, yeah, this fucking down pilot weighs nearly 500 fucking pounds and we're all trying to carry it. Take a deep breath, keep moving. My break, my rotation out will come. I don't need to stress. I just need to keep pushing. 5 more minutes.
Yeah, man.
You can do anything for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So you make it through selection. You're a Green Beret. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I graduated the Q course in May of 2012, and friggin' just like every other young buck, just didn't take leave, went straight down. We were the first, I think we were one of the first groups of dudes that went straight down to Florida, because we have the new facility down there, and show up to my company and everybody's deploying. And it's like, hey man, like ACO's deploying. There's no company commander yet. And you missed it. You missed this rotation. It's like, fuck, dude. And I'm like the first one in the company that's, for a build back. The rest of the company's going. We're going to build up the B team. I'm just sitting in an office. And that's where I met one of the most influential commanders that I would meet, Kevin Key, and then warrant officer Doug Morey, just phenomenal leaders. And within that first week, they're like, "Hey, dude, don't worry, fucking don't you get here, you're gonna be getting combat trips, you're gonna get lots of rotations down south. Like, this is just one of many, and don't worry, we'll get a mission." And I'm like, "We'll get a mission? Like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? It's just me, a warrant officer, and a company commander. Who are we to have a mission?" It's like 2 weeks later, we have a full fucking B team, and we have a mission to Honduras, and it was fucking one of the best trips I ever had.
Nice.
But I had to learn to give yourself the ability to understand there's a greater purpose, and even if you don't see what's coming down the road, be open to be surprised. I was so focused, I didn't even know there was a deployment happening, and then I show up, and now I'm distraught and angry that I'm not going on a rotation I didn't know about. Like, dude, just a couple weeks ago you were in a fucking Q course. like shut the fuck up. Be humble. Fucking be glad you made it to the fucking to 7th group and stand by. But it was so quick to forget how lucky and how blessed you are to have made it through that process. I have tons of friends that didn't.
Sure.
Great men, great dudes. And I show up and it's instantly, oh, fuck, I didn't make it on a rotation. It's like, oh, fucking cry me a river, dude.
Yeah, dude. And I told you that's what happened when I showed up to my unit. I missed the Iraq rotation, and I was pissed. But again, I mean, I had a medical issue. I had a hole in my throat. There was nothing I could do about it. It was just, it is what it is. And like you said, you just got to maintain that positive image in your brain about, what might be coming next, because that gave me an opportunity to just focus on my career and be better. And when Afghanistan came up, it was fucking game on.
Yeah, it made my career, and that's no fucking joke. The mentorship I got, the leadership that I had in that company, I came in not having any specialty schools. I had air assault from the 82nd, and I had an operations sergeant that was like, "The first school I'm sending you is static line JM." And I was like, that fucking dude's going to Ranger school. That guy's going over here. Like, fucking, I just left the 82nd fucking static line JM. He's like, you don't fucking understand. You don't understand what makes you a good Green Beret. You're nothing right now. Yeah. You're a junior 18 Bravo. By the time you leave here, I'm going to make you the best junior 18 Bravo that a team can receive with some sort of skill set that you can give back to that team. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that makes sense to me now. Okay, I understand it. But it was that young man's arrogance of, I want all this great shiny stuff. You don't fucking rate it. You're not good enough. Learn. And if you don't understand it, go ask. And that's very much what that B team was. And I'm grateful for that hardship of not knowing what the fuck to do. But I had great leaders to my left and my right. That were there to mentor me. I had an entire free fall detachment from our sister company that would bring me underneath their wing to help support them in any way that I could and to learn from them.
Yeah.
Same with another team, 2-6. Their senior Bravo brought me under to learn how to do the basics of that job, because you need to learn. And if you don't have a senior, that community was so great and so fucking supportive. They're like, don't worry. We'll teach you how to do your job. We'll teach you what you need to do so you can continue growing and developing. Because when you're on the B team as a young 18 Bravo, you don't have that senior. It was in every other MOS that came in to backfill that B team was also a brand new guy from the Q course. We had a handful of guys that would come in later that will build the team up, that could provide some guidance, but it was very much of like fly by the seat, learn as you go. Having to learn the administrative side of the house first. Like, that's the one thing you didn't realize. Your operations team, they're supposed to be the most senior dudes in the company. And here I am, brand new, fucking fresh out of the fucking Q course, 18 Bravo, learning how to do the administrative tasks that usually, starting first class and above.
Yeah.
But you get put in that position and you fucking learn. And we had a good operations sergeant and leadership that was willing to allow us to take the time and learn how to do it.
Nice.
And it's no joke, man. They said it was going to make my career, and it did. by the time that trip was over, you know, I remember Wally Gonzalez asked me, he was like, you want to be a dive guy or you want to be a free fall guy? And I was like, fuck, because we were doing dive PT every single fucking day out in Honduras. And I'm like, I'm not about this fucking water thing, dude. I'm not about this water thing. And looking back, little did I fucking know that would be such a huge thing in my career, because years later, I finished out my career on a dive team.
Did you?
But at that moment, yeah, Wally was like, what do you want to be? And we were in the gym and he's like, you're a free fall guy. It's that moment of like, you know, you're not sure how to answer your sergeant major because you don't want to fucking turn away any gift. And it's like, fuck, both our specialty teams. Like, I don't want to say anything. It's like, you like working out. You like getting big. You're a free fall guy. I was like, yeah, I want to go on a free fall
That's
team.
Funny.
And then went to 7114. And that was absolutely the greatest thing that could ever happen to me. That was, not only did I have the best senior, every position on that team was filled with combat hardened senior fucking Green Berets. Like, you look up or Google like hard hitting Green Beret, and then there's fucking every single one of those dudes, and it's like, fuck, I don't belong in this team room.
Yeah.
Like, instantly you're like, oh fuck, like I don't belong in this area. But it's like, that was the caliber of men on that team of that era, with guys that had done rotation after rotation after rotation. And then got guys like Q, fucking Commo Wizard. You got guys like Angel, who's not only his brother's a Navy SEAL, he's a Green Beret, and fucking like, dude, like literally like fucking one of the greatest dudes I ever met. Best free fall dude. The first person I was able to link up in free fall. Like, it's Angel's ability to do everything better than you. It was almost irritating. And that was the team that I was on. And it was just like everything that you read or hope to experience as a Green Beret, I got from that team. So it was very much everything had gone in the plan.
That's
man.
Awesome.
So
you did how many years as a Green Beret and how many rotations?
So I did 2 Afghan trips and about how many down south trips? 4 or 5 down south trips.
That was your region?
Yeah. 7th Group South America. And I was there from 2012 till I retired in 2023. And it was the greatest fucking experience of my military career.
That's awesome.
Like, I have lots of love for my 82nd time, lots of fun memories, but man, like being a Green Beret, being a warrant officer on a detachment are like fucking amazing. Like, those were like very fortunate that I got to do that. And it feels, looking back, it feels like such a small blip of time still. Like, even though like it was vast, like I got married, had a divorce, had all these different milestones as a Green Beret, went through all this stuff. And it's like, fuck, like vast majority of my life still, like I look back, I'm like, man, it goes by so fucking fast.
It does.
So fucking
It really
fast.
does. And, you know, being out of the military, I find it goes so quick. And, you know, they say if you're not a vet if you don't have 2 of the 3 things, right? Bad credit, divorce, and a DD-214.
Dude, yeah, I took that to heart when I think it was my first team sergeant that made that joke, but I didn't take it as a joke, because like, you're not a real Green Beret till you have a Harley, you got your first divorce underneath your belt, and I forget what was the other qualifier. But yeah, it was, as soon as I made it onto that team, it came very fast. My initial first marriage didn't make it through my first year on a team.
Wow.
Yeah. It was very short lived.
Sure.
And but it was one of those things where, looking back, you prioritized the mission, the men, and everything else but the marriage.
Yeah, man.
It seemed like a roommate,
and it's certainly not uncommon in our arena, right? They say like veterans have something like a 60-something% divorce rate, and combat veterans are in the 80s. So it's insane.
But it doesn't have to be that way. That's the thing that I realized.
I couldn't agree more. It does not have to be that way. It just is that way right now. Hopefully it'll change. But talk to me. You know, you're obviously medically retired now. Talk to me about, you know, all the things that you're doing now. I know you're working with a nonprofit. I know you got the podcast.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, talk to me about what's going on now.
Yeah, man. So I went through a really rough downward spiral. The
Transition.
my last my right prior to my transition, my health was just deteriorated to the point where had two surgeries that failed for my feet. Just constant chronic pain that nobody could take care of with either medication or any sort of like adaptive device. And finally, like the only thing that the doctors had left to do was like, hey, we're going there and see what we can do for the calcaneus and for the fat pad, see what we can do, and try to repair the plantar fascia. And came out of both of those surgeries worse than when I went in. And I was like, fuck, dude, like, how am I supposed to become or get back to the point where I'm a fucking fighting Green Beret when I'm actually doing the fucking job? And nobody was talking about operator syndrome yet. Nobody had said anything. And slowly but surely, like the chronic stress, the pain, everything started to start spiraling out of control. And when you add not being able to sleep, when you add the cognitive issues I was experiencing, nobody was, and I wasn't saying shit to my mental health providers or anybody at the P3 clinic. I was just going through like trying to like sort of probe and see if I can get help with this issue and this issue. And nobody wants to talk about mental health. And I was like, fuck, dude, like I'm not going to lose my career over this shit. I'm not going to say a fucking thing. But then, it got to the point where I couldn't function. I literally couldn't talk once I got past a certain fucking point of escalation. I couldn't read like I used to. I couldn't fucking find the right words. And it felt like best way to describe it was brain lock. Everything was just it had to be like at a perfect try to get to like that perfect steady state of like early mornings, nobody talking to me, then I could think clearly. And it was like I could no longer multitask or like handle multiple conversations and my memory was gone. And all these things started like chipping away at my abilities to do my fucking job. And then my left eye stopped focusing. And then it was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
What the fuck's going on? It was like not saying shit. And looking back, it's like, dude, like you're really not willing to fucking raise your hand and say, hey, there's something going on in here. Like there's some alarm bells. I'm like, no, because I didn't want to fucking lose my job. You worked so fucking hard to become a warrant officer, bro. Like that was like the position of the chief on a team. It's not a 1 year to 2 year. It's 5 years.
Sure.
Like that was supposed to be like, hey, I'm gonna do a few more years on a team, fucking company warrant. Like, dude, got it made in the shade. I'm gonna never have to leave the company. I'll be able to finish out my entire military career at the company level. Like, this is great. And then I couldn't function anymore. And my idea of how to solve that problem was really fucked up. And I almost did something really stupid until I found myself in that office with that therapist. And I finally found a moment of like truth and vulnerability. And I told her everything I was going through and that I had an active plan. Um, and that shit was that was the only thing I needed to do was to be honest for one moment with the right person. And that got me access to care that I really needed. I found myself in a inpatient treatment center and then was at a traumatic brain injury treatment center addressing all of my issues. And then finally, you're surrounded with friggin' medical staff that can go through a checklist and like tell you like, hey man, you're not going insane. Here's everything that's wrong. But better yet, here's how we can help you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, at this point, I've been struggling with this shit for over 2 years because the initial shit happened during COVID. And I'm like, fuck, dude, like, if only I would have been able to be honest for a few moments. If only I would have been able to fucking initially just walk in and say, hey, here's what I fucking need. I could have gotten help a lot sooner. Maybe I wouldn't have gone down a downward spiral.
Yeah.
But what I realized is like, why don't we talk about this shit? Because I can't be the only person going through it. And Denny, come to find out, I wasn't. When I started the podcast, I started being able to speak directly to not just the soft community, but other service members are dealing with the same shit because the exposure of RHI and repeated blast is not just within the soft community, it's within our military community, mortarmen, artillerymen,
Yeah.
everybody that's exposed to this shit on a daily basis can experience these side effects. And that's what's my mission's been with Security Halt. And I was fortunate to get a good following and start sharing this stuff. And we've had a lot of success with people within the audience hearing these words, hearing these stories, and getting help and being able to reach back and say, hey, man, like you shared something that I was going through and I went and got help. And yeah, I was going through the same thing. So,
Yeah, it's crazy how like you look back at, hindsight's always 2020, but you look back and you see like the fucking downward spiral could have been prevented.
yeah,
But we just stay in our own way because
we do.
we think we need to be hard and tough, and we keep all this shit in. And I think people are getting better about that now and more in tune to
Absolutely. Especially
seeking
when
out
we speak about
resources.
it from a point of strength rather than seeing it as a weakness. Like, dude, you can rebound. You can get better. Like you just need the right resources.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, man, I love it. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. And where can people find you? I know you're on social
yeah,
media and
man.
everything like that. Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, please check us out, Security Out Podcast on Instagram. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and like you mentioned, I'm also running the social media for Special Forces Foundation. Our tagline is "Led by Green Berets for Green Berets." Extremely honored and humbled to have been asked to answer the call and help the foundation. So please, if you're a Green Beret out there struggling or need a pointing in the right direction for other resources, just hit us up. Oftentimes, we can get you connected with somebody that can help you immediately. We do sleep, so maybe it'll take a little time, but hit us up at Special Forces Foundation. Same on Instagram, X, and LinkedIn, man. You can find me on there as well, Deny Caballero on LinkedIn. Please, if you need anything, hit me up, man.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate you coming on. And there you have it, Deny Caballero. Thanks again, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank
See you
you.
guys next time.